Our kind do not perish easily, but when we do, I'm told the experience is agonizing, as if the very fires forged in the sun had taken root within our being, slowly consuming us from the inside out, our skin replaced by unyielding barbs that constrict around us, trapping us in a blinding sea of raw, red torment. Zephyros had beaten me to the brink of death, leaving me incapacitated, a writhing mess of intestine, burnt flesh, and cracked bone, slowly regenerating. He spared my head, denying me the chance for penitence and redemption. He said he would take her and force me to witness. I know not the pain of death, but this feeling is far worse than any physical anguish I could endure. Just as I had taken away her humanity, he had taken everything from me, an agonizing fate. He had positioned my nearly severed head to observe his sordid act in detail. Mere moments ago, she struggled to breathe, and now he took twisted pleasure in her suffering, for when she suffered, I would suffer as well. This was but a game to him, a means of amusement. Zephyros halted her bleeding, crudely fusing her delicate flesh. Her body seized involuntarily at his burning touch. I once reveled in the scent of searing flesh, but this filled me with a sickened rage, though I could not retch, my throat having been torn out, leaving me helpless as she was, as I had made her. Zephyros turned to me, his golden eyes blazing as he licked the remnants of her blood from his fingers. "Oh, Drake," he muttered in mock pity, "don't give me that look. You appear almost—" He paused, a scowl crossing his features, emphasizing the word as he hissed it, "human." He then returned to her, Seraphina, forcing his tongue into her mouth before defiling her pale, limp form. I blinked. The sensations I felt were impossible, yet I felt them. My blood boiling, my chest constricting, my vision clouded red with rage. It was quite ironic how we, as a species, view humans as tainted and flawed, considering human qualities as a sign of weakness to be eliminated. Despite this, we rely on them, feed off them, and use them for our own gain. Over time, they have become an integral part of our economy, a form of bargaining and currency. If they are such vile creatures, why do we depend on them so? Seraphina let out a blood-curdling scream that faded to a choked gurgle. This snapped me from my wandering thoughts, and I blinked, focusing on the scene before me, unsure of what I had missed. Zephyros was pinned beneath her, a bone, possibly one of mine, protruding from his body. Seraphina, trembling, held the other half of the bone deep in her own chest, her shaking arms barely keeping it in place. I could feel wet trails on my face and taste salt on my lips. The sensation was foreign, but I had witnessed it before, had caused it before. I was crying. I did not think it possible for us to shed tears. I wanted to scream, to push the foolish woman off him, to hold her, to see her smile. And yet I was helpless, unable to even speak, let alone comfort her fading warmth. Battered and bloodied, she was bleeding profusely from her chest and her mouth, her smiling mouth. The pain in my chest worsened. It wasn't the snapping and cracking of my regenerating body. It was something else. It was heavy, and it ached. Why did she gaze at me so? Why did she smile? I longed to plead with her, to say all that weighed on my mind, but when I parted my lips, only trembling gasps came out. I had regenerated enough to regain movement in one of my arms, and all I could do was double over in pain, clutching at my chest. I was weak, pathetic, a pitiful, weak excuse for a living creature, and yet she still offered me such a serene smile. She smiled despite the pain, despite everything. Zephyros beneath her seemed stunned, unmoving from shock, laying in a pool of blood, swirls of her crimson and our blue, joining together to create a macabre lavender mosaic. The scent of the combined blood was oddly pleasant and was making me drowsy. It may have been the only thing keeping me from completely losing control at what I was witnessing. Was that why Zephyros had yet to move? I glanced down at him, and he seemed to be asleep. The trail of swirling blood was seeping toward me, and the scent was growing stronger. I tried to push myself up with my one good arm. My body had grown heavy, but I wanted to push on. I had to. I had to see her. I had to save her. It's okay? She had gone as far as to try and reassure me with such an obvious lie. Did she think I was that stupid? Or was it something else? Is this what humans did? Was this how they comforted one another in times of sadness, when faced with adversary and death? The scent of the combined blood was dizzying. I collapsed and could feel my eyelids falling shut. I was helpless to do anything as I watched her form finally fall limp onto Zephyros. My world darkened, and I was afraid. To be afraid? Oh, how far I had fallen. I was afraid that this would be my punishment if I were to wake again. She would no longer be there. Wasn't that for the best? She would be free, and yet I was selfish, because I wanted her to remain. I yearned for her to smile like that, to have that smile untainted by blood. Was that too much to ask? I suppose in the end it was. I awoke, unsure of how much time had passed. Hours? A day? It was long enough for me to have fully regenerated, and I groggily sat up. It took a few minutes to recall what had happened. My hand had been placed in a pool of cold blood, its scent still sweet but no longer drowsy-making. Following the trail, my eyes landed on Seraphina. I did not wish to look, did not want to see her, but I had to. I shuffled over to her. She appeared oddly peaceful, positioned to rest on her back, arms crossed over her chest, the bone removed. A typical burial pose, but who had done it? Certainly not Zephyros. It was not in his nature to act without self-interest. Then again, it was not in my nature to show compassion, to cry, or to feel. This single human being, this sweet porcelain girl, did she hold such power? Did all humans? Seraphina was surrounded by a halo of lavender, marred with dashes of red and blue. Her hair sprawled out like a fiery crown. Her face had been messily cleaned and held that genuine, soft smile, even in death. I felt sick. My hands clasped my mouth as I choked back tears. She was gone, and there was no way to bring her back. My entire body shook, racked with pain, the pain of dying, of heartache, and of guilt. I reached out to her with shaky hands, carefully picking her up and holding her against me. She was cold. I couldn't feel her heart pounding against my chest. I couldn't feel her breath tickling the back of my neck. It was too much. I buried my head into the crook of her neck and cried, rocking and cradling her. Why did it take her pain, her suffering, and finally her death for me to realize the importance of such emotions? How powerful love was, how painful heartache is, the sickness of regret. I wouldn't let her exuberant existence be extinguished by death. It would live on in my memories and in my actions. I would show them. I would show each and every one of our species the significance of humanity, of emotion, joy, love, compassion, grief, hate, anger, everything. Seraphina, she changed me, and my one regret is that I did not notice it sooner. Thank you.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.